Hello there. Today we're going to make focaccia. It's a simplified version of a focaccia, one that I make down the Salvation Army each week. It's very popular, but really sort of cheap and easy to do. You can put lots of olive oil and things like that in there, but this one's nice and simple. So we've got 300 grams of strong white flour. I'm putting in some nice, this is Himalayan salt, but you can use sea salt if you'd rather. And then about a packet of instant yeast. I use it out of a jar, so it's about a packet there, I suppose. Make sure it's the instant yeast or easy yeast, whichever version you're calling it. And then the water. So for every 100 grams of flour you use, we're going to put in 75 grams of hot water. I say grams because it's easier to just measure it in grams than it is to keep changing from millilitres to grams. So for every 100 grams, 75 of water, giving you a hydration rate of 75%. So if you use 1 kilo, you put in 750 grams of water. It's as simple as that. Now all we're going to do is start by mixing it with our hand to bring it to a ball. There you go, we've got it into a ball. Now to be honest, when I'm doing this for down the Salvation or any bigger numbers, I just stick it in a stand mixer and do it for 10 minutes on medium speed. But this does the same, it just takes a bit more time. Now the kneading of it, because it's a really wet dough, it won't knead like a normal dough. So you've got to be fast and hard with it. So hand in, really bash it down, turn it, bash it. It will stick to the board, it will stick to your hand, but it will come together. Just persevere with it. Turn it. You can use a board scraper, that'll help. I'll just show you what I mean by that. Just put it in, turn it, wallop, do it like that. Now you want to do this for 10 minutes. Now after a little while, it will start to come together as a proper dough. Persevere. Okay, this is after 5 minutes of kneading. You can see it's starting to come into a nice ball. It will take 10 minutes total. Notice I haven't put any flour on the board. If you do that, you're changing the hydration rate. It's just a case of keep it moving, keep bashing it about, and it will get there. If this is too difficult for you at this hydration, reduce it to say 70% or even 65%. But the less water, the smaller the bubbles. So to get nice big bubbles in your bread, you want the high hydration. Incidentally, this makes a good pizza dough as well. But just bear with it. It will come together. When you first do it, you'll think, no, it's wrong. But look, you can see yourself starting to come together now. Just say 10 minutes and you'll be fine. Okay, so look, we've got it to this stage. As I say, all the way through this, you're going to be thinking, oh, it's not working, it's all gone wrong. But that's how it should look, okay? Now we're going to pop it in this bowl. And we're going to leave it for about 20 minutes with a damp towel over the top. Now in that 20 minutes, it's going to go all saggy and relax and look like a liquid almost. You're going to think, oh no, it's gone wrong. No, it's supposed to be that way. So we'll come back in 20 minutes and I'll show you how we get around it. Okay, that's been 20 minutes. I'll show you what to do now. You can see it's kind of relaxing and going a bit blur. So get our hands wet. Very important. Then when you've got your hands wet, lift it, stretch it over. Lift it, stretch it over. And each time you do that, you're making it a little bit stronger. And eventually you'll be able to lift it up and it'll become much more solid. So you want to do this stretching motion, north, south, east and west, you know, for a good minimum of 3 times. 4 is good. Well, each time you're doing it, you're making the proteins line up. If you can imagine an army that's just all over the place, running around with swords, they're not very strong. And then you think of the Roman army, all in rows, all stabbing away with their little short swords, and they're much stronger. And that's what you're trying to do with the proteins and the bits and pieces within the bread. So you're strengthening it, stretching it, making them all lie the same way to make them stronger. So we're going to do that 4 times. While we're waiting for that to prove, a quick word about toppings and things. You can stick whatever you like on there, from something as simple as just some Stilton cheese and some onions, to all this malarkey I've got here. I've got some chorizo from the garden. I've got some sage, oregano and rosemary. Nice tomatoes, onions, got some Swiss cheese, mozzarella, Stilton, whatever you want to use, some peppers. I like a bit of heat, so I've got some red chilies. Now the oil, you can go and buy a bottle of garlic infused olive oil. Very good, really good stuff. This, however, is, last year my wife had a really good bumper crop on the tomatoes, so I dehydrated them and then I rehydrated them in balsamic vinegar and then stored them in extra virgin rapeseed oil with chilies and garlic and fresh herbs and that from the garden. Now you mature that for a few weeks and the oil has more flavour than anything in there. It's an amazing oil, and we'll use that to sort of season and flavour the focaccia. Turn number 2. Just literally lifting it from the 4 corners. Need to wiggle it a bit or stretch it. You can actually pull it if you like. There we go. Can you see from the gooey dough we had earlier, it's beginning to take shape. So that's number 2, another 2 to go. Each time you're leaving it, say 10-15 minutes in between, let it relax and that. You ready? Turn 3, you can see it lifts straight out. You're kind of swinging it to make it stretch now. I mean, you could get away with it now, but I like to do 4 times just to make it extra strong. But you can see how it's all standing up nicely now. I never mentioned, but when you're making it, use warm water, a little bit over tepid. And then when you're proving your doughs here, keep them at a nice steady warm temperature. I've got a proving drawer, but you know, just a nice room temperature. So there you go. It's the 4th turn. You can see it lifts up quite happily now. And one last final stretch and kind of form it into a sort of ball. You haven't got to be too finicky about it because, well, you'll see. So let's ready to rock and roll. So we get a tray. I'm using this. You can use a round one, small one, big one. Look, the smaller you go, the thicker your bread. I don't want it too thick because I like quite a lot of topping in relation to the dough. So in with that lovely oil, you can see the colour of that, can't you? That's tomato and rapeseed and that. Get a bit of oil on your hands as well. There we go. Now just lift your dough in. It's not going to want to do what you want it to do because dough, because of the gluten, is elastic. So all we're doing is kind of wallop splat for the moment. Now we're going to let that rest with a damp cloth over it for about 5 minutes and then we'll have another look. Okay, that's it, just rested for a few minutes. All we're going to do now is mash it out to the corners. Just give them a little stretch. Nothing too particular, yeah? Because it's still got to grow as it cooks. So, we're going to put a few toppings on there now. We get some bits of this. This is just a Swiss cheese. As I say, you use whatever you like. Now, whatever goes on top is going to get the most cook. So, you know, if you want something nice and brown, put that on top. Okay, now I'm going to sprinkle some herbs over it. Now, look, these are fresh herbs, so they're not like the dried, they're not intense. You can put a nice load of it over. Meanwhile, put your oven on to about 200 degrees. Let's get some chilies on there now. I like to put these underneath to catch the wife out. Not evil, just like seeing her rosy cheeked. There we go. Now some chorizo. Just spread about the place. Now, if you put too much on, it won't rise properly. Just bear that in mind, but don't put enough on, you've got no flavour. So, thin line, some onions. Love a bit of onion. Now you can put some, you know, olives and stuff. Some nice bits of tomatoes knocked around. Bollop, bollop, bollop. A few bits of pepper. Last of the bits on the thing. Now, let's get some lovely oil on top. Just 1 spoon to begin with. Then what we're going to do is just push all of that down. As I say, this is a simplified country version of it. It's, you know, nothing too pretty. All these lovely pretty holes and whatever. Well, there you go. Another spoonful of the oil. I like to put a bit of oil on, a bit more than you normally would, so it goes underneath and kind of gives you that fried bread effect underneath, which I really like. On top of that, I've got some really coarse sea salt, just sprinkle about. Now, you could put studded garlic in there, but this oil is very strong in garlic, so there's enough there. Nice bit of pepper. There we go. Beautiful. Now, we're going to leave this for a good half an hour or so. We're going to really, you know, the longer you leave it, the bigger them bubbles are going to get. So cover it in a damp cloth, let your oven warm up, leave it half hour, and then I'll show you just before it goes in. Okay, so the oven's up to 200. You know, you can't really get a good perspective on that, but you can see how it's risen. You can see little bubbles forming and that. So that's all good to go now. So I'm going to pop that in the oven. Now, saying how long it takes, I can't really because I don't know your oven. But I'm going to say have a look at it after about 20 minutes. And what you're looking for is a nice bit of colour and the edges to be nice and sort of cooked, really. You can have a little peek underneath if you want. I'm going to throw this in the oven now and we'll have a look later. Well, there we go. It was about 25 minutes. Look, your oven may be hotter than mine, but that's what you're after. And if you can hear it's like a hollow noise, and that means it's cooked. You can peek underneath in that, but I'm going to leave it to sit for about 5 minutes. Then I'm going to take it out and cut it and show you the inside. Well, I haven't waited quite 5-10 minutes because I'm hungry, so I'm just going to go ahead and cut it. I'll show you the formation of the bubbles and what have you. You're after that nice crispy sound like a fried bread sort of thing. There's your bubbly bubblies, all nice and doing, 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 doing. Lovely. Oh, I love this stuff. Well, dunk that in a soup, go ahead. But yeah, there you go. That's basically it. Really simple. But if you've got a stand mixer, whack it in there for 10 minutes. There's none of that messing about. But if you haven't, do it by hand. Don't worry that it doesn't look right. It will come right in the end. Please give it a go.